Well, you may remember a story that I brought you in April of last year of a gentleman who is raising money for hospice by running 52 half marathons in 52 weeks. And he's with me today, Mike Tennant, and he's almost finished. Mike, thanks for joining us again today. 52 marathons so far, 51 marathons so far, and you've got one to go to achieve the record.
Half marathons, yeah. I've got one half marathon to go on Saturday, which will get me to 52. I've extended my target just a little bit from what I started. So instead of the 52 in 52 weeks, I've set myself what was always a hidden goal of 55 half marathons in 52 weeks, which would mean I'd run my age.
So you're going to be 55, or you're coming up to 55?
Yeah, I turned 55 the day after the Rotorua Marathon. So we're having a celebratory birthday party / hospice fundraiser the day after in the Redwoods.
How's the body holding up, Mike? Because that's a lot of running in 1 year.
Body's been pretty good, except a couple of times when I've hit some really tough runs. So I had one a couple of weeks ago up in Auckland that bashed it round a bit, but the body still seems to bounce back pretty well.
Now, you mentioned off camera they don't stretch. Now, I find that quite surprising because I know runners should stretch because the muscles do tighten up.
During the week I'll do bits of stretches to try and keep the body loose in terms of the back especially. But on race day, you remember back to when you used to play rugby and that sort of stuff, you'd go out and do a gentle jog to run. Well, I'm starting my races with a gentle jog, so I don't really need to stretch much before I start. And when I finish, I'm usually too tired.
Yeah. How many shoes have you gone through?
I've killed one pair. I've got another couple of pair that are getting very close to death. But the Innovate shoes that I've worn have actually been really, really brilliant. The pair that I killed, I worked out, had done close to 800 Ks.
Wow, that's a lot of running, Mike.
Yeah,
the really amazing thing too is not just here in Rotorua you've been running, you've been all over the country.
Correct, I've been as far south. I've done a couple of events down in Wellington. I've done quite a few in the Hawke's Bay. I've been to New Plymouth and then quite a few in Auckland and just north of Auckland. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Now, I guess the big question that our viewers are going to be wanting to know is how much money have you raised for hospice?
At this stage, we have the original target. If you remember, a year ago, we were targeting $20,000 to $25,000. We have about $21,500 in the bank, and we have a further $24,000 pledged, obviously, to be gathered after I finish my final event.
That's an amazing amount of money that you raise, Mike. The hospice must be absolutely wrapped with what you've done for them.
Yeah, it's going to. The reason it's been an easier thing to raise is because the money's going to go back to all of the different hospices around the country. So wherever the person's donated it from, it'll go back to their hospice, which has made people take ownership of it. So I've got sponsors from Christchurch, I've got sponsors from Dunedin and Queenstown, I've got sponsors from Auckland, so all around the country, and then at the end of it I'll be bundling it up into amounts based on where it's come from and donating it back to that hospice. So that's quite cool.
Well, I'm glad you brought up sponsors because obviously you need sponsors on board to help you out, not only with donations for hospice but also for your running kit and entry fees and things like that. So have you had quite a lot of response from different companies around town or around the country?
I've had some fantastic sponsors. I've had Innovate, as I said, with the shoes. One of the best sponsors was actually is a company called Total Sports who run a lot of the events, and between them and a couple of other race directors with Lactic Turkey and the Hawke's Bay Trail Running Series, they're responsible for probably 30 to 35 of my events that I've got into this year for free. They've sponsored me into all their events. Lots of other individual events have helped me. That's been really good. Rock Tape have helped me tape up my knees, and believe me, they've held me together on quite a few races. I've had graphic designer, Kaz graphic designers from Cambridge. I've had a website designer, W3 from Hamilton. And the list goes on. BNI, Business Network International, have been behind me the whole way and supporting me. And in fact, most of the sponsorship money has come from BNI members around the country.
Well, that's amazing. I'm just absolutely wrapped for you, Mike, because I know hospice do an awesome service in our community. What about on race days? Have you had many people coming along and running with you?
Not so many running with me, although I had one really good run here in Rotorua with a local businessman named Peter Moingaroa. Peter's got a very special son, and between the two of us we pushed Peter's son around for the full half marathon around the Festival of Rotorua half marathon, and it was Peter's first ever half marathon, so we did K on, K off, pushing his son, and it was a real highlight. It was brilliant.
What's kept you going, Mike?
The challenge has kept me going, and yet the highlight of it has been the people. I've met so many amazing people, and I've made probably another dozen of what I call close friends now that were people I'd never even met before. People I meet at multiple events. I have people come up to me in events saying, I remember running with you at this event or running with you at that event. And that's been the highlight. So while I've put a fair bit of effort and time into this, one of the biggest winners of the whole thing has been me.
Nice. Now, just before we go, Mike, because we're almost out of time, what's been the highlight for you, apart from meeting the people? What's been the highlight marathon that you've done?
Run-wise, it's hard to separate between, there's two that really left me with the biggest buzz. And one was an event called The Goat, just before Christmas, which is run from the top of the Bruce round to the top of the Rotorua ski field. That was done in 4 to 5 degree temperatures, howling winds, rain, fog, mud, rocks, and it was just absolutely outstanding. And the other one was a local event run by the chap I mentioned earlier, Sean Collins from Lactic Turkey. Runs an event called the Big O round at Okataina. He ran a new course last year. His 21k half marathon finished up being 27k's, and again it was just absolutely fantastic. So those are 2 of the events, but I've had so many more highlights over the year.
Last question now, Mike. Once you've finished and you've had a bit of R&R, put the feet up for maybe a couple of weeks or even maybe a couple of months, what's the next big plan or big event for you?
I ran an event as part of the series last year. When there was one weekend there was no event, I actually ran an event here at the Blue Lake called the Fat Man's Run, and we had about 60 people running it. We raised about $2,000 on the day. My plan is to make that an ongoing event for whatever charity, whether it's for hospice or for other charities in the future. So that's my plan, but I'll obviously keep running. I'll still be doing events. I expect myself to do 15 to 20 events a year ongoing.
You're a legend, mate. Mike,
Thanks,
appreciate
Alan.
your time. Thank
Cheers,
you.
mate. Appreciate it.